can watch it. I've never done it before, so welcome again. I'm going to share my screen. And while I do that, I want to let you know at any time you have a question, just yell it out. We will take some breaks in between. I have 46 slides, so we'll go fast, but we'll try to do a thorough review of both the middle school and the high school as well. More middle school than high school tonight. So I'm going to share my screen now, and let's see how we go. Okay. Share. All right, you guys good? You can see everybody?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so what are we going to do today? Tonight we're going to talk about a few things. First, how is the middle school different from Rushmore? Transition activities for your students so that they could feel comfortable once they come to our school. We're going to talk about the role of our school counselor. We're going to look at a sample of a 7th grade schedule. We're going to talk about a little bit about the life in the middle school, some of the awards and recognitions that we do. We're going to talk about discipline and how we do discipline here in the middle school, high school, how you can help your child move on to the school, and give you a little high school overview, and of course, some questions and answers as we go.
Mr. D, do you want to set the slide up and play it from the beginning so that it takes up the whole screen?
Sure. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Very easy to see.
That means they can't see me?
No, they can still see you.
They can, because, you know, it's all about me. I'm trying to do letting people in also. Okay. So here we go. All right, so here are some of the differences between the middle school and the high school. And this information I shared with your kids when they came for their orientation. But one of the big things that the kids get really nervous about is their lockers and the locker combination. I know they didn't use lockers this year in 6th grade, and our lockers are in the hallway. It's probably the largest fear kids have is the locker and the locker combination. So just so you know, in the summertime, they will be getting their locker number and combination, and they can come into school once they get their schedule to practice that combination. We are very, very forgiving in the first few days of school. So if you guys can mute yourselves so I don't have to hear you yelling, that would be awesome. So the lockers are in the hallway. They actually get 2 lockers, one in the hallway and also one in the locker room. We provide the locks, so that's a big concern kids have. Another difference is that there are older kids here. We've got kids in 12th grade who are 17, 18, and then we have special education students who are 19, 20, and 21 years old who are here in the building. They will never be in the same classroom with anybody but 7th graders or possibly an 8th grader. And our building is set up in such a way that for most of the day, they are separated. There is only one library, for example, and it's physically in the middle school. We have 3 gyms, and they're physically in the high school. So those times they are going to be interacting with students. But in my 9 years, I've never had a problem with high school and middle schoolers getting into any kind of problems, except once 2 brothers continued the fight that they were having in their home to here. One was in 9th grade and one was in 8th grade, but that was about it. We have a 2-day schedule, an A day and a B day schedule, and that's on the school calendar. I know Rushmore is a 6-day cycle. We only have a 2-day cycle, A, B. Our school starts at 8 a.m., both the middle school and high school. We're one of the later starting schools. Most schools, at least high schools, start at 7:30, but we start at 8 a.m. We do have a class which we call 0 period, which Mr. Santoro will talk about a little bit later, which does start at 7:20. But the kids need to be ready to learn at 8 o'clock. Now, for some of your kids, they need to get in the building by like 7 o'clock so that they can be ready by 8 o'clock. The building opens at 7, by the way. Some of your kids can walk in at 7:55 and be able to get into their whatever they need to do and get started, but they need to be, first period starts at 8 o'clock. The school day ends at 2:57. 2:57 is when your kids will be dismissed. Or they can stay for extracurriculars or sports, and we'll talk about that as well. We have no buses here at the middle school, high school. That's sometimes surprising to some parents. We always get a parent calling the first day of school, where's the bus for my middle schooler? There ain't none. Most kids get dropped off or walk here. We have a pretty good system to get in here. I will tell you that when it rains or snows, the line is longer, so get here earlier. But we don't have any buses, no bus stops, and all the kids leave also the same way. A much busier schedule. Your sixth graders, when they come into the middle school, they'll have a lot more opportunities to do things, and a lot more academic pressures and work will be placed on them. So they will definitely have a busier schedule than they have now as sixth graders. We have extra help built into our school day, that in a week, all of our teachers are available to our kids 7 times during the school day. That's between 8 o'clock and 2:57. So that's something that helps the academic part of our cycle. So that's there for you. And I highlighted and bolded it because there's not that many schools that have that, but we do. We have, and they have more access now to clubs and athletic activities. I call the school day, it has 2 parts, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then 3 p.m. to 8 a.m. I'm sorry, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. So the 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the fun parts, the clubs, the athletics, but I always tell the kids that the 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the most important part. So if you don't do the right thing there, you can't do you can't have those fun things at the end of the day. A lot new rules and regulations, responsibilities for the kids from Rushmore to the middle school. And there's a lot more adults in our building compared to Rushmore and Cherry Lane. All of central office is here. The superintendent, the 3 assistant superintendents, the directors, the chair people. There's a lot of adults here. That means lots of eyes, a lot of people, and a lot of those administrators are in the middle school, which is great because there's lots of people. We also have 2 assistant principals, whereas Rushmore only had Mrs. Saletti as the principal. You'll be getting a new school counselor, Mr. Santoro, and also there are supervisors and directors now. So in many cases, and we'll go through the chain of command, there's another layer now of people that you can have access to get help from for your children. And those are chair people and directors. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, let's talk about transitioning, how we transition your kids from 6th grade to 7th grade. Well, tonight is one of the important ones. So we have you guys feel comfortable with the program, with us, the staff members, going around in order from the upper left. So we had all of the 6th grade classes in. I know there was a few kids who were not present on the day that their class came in. So Mrs. Saletti and Miss Cohen will be organizing a makeup day for them. But that was a chance for the kids to come in and see the building and walk around. August, as I said before, you will get the students' schedule sometime by mid-August. There's a schedule will be in there and their locker and locker number. So I would suggest that either the children can come alone, or they can come with you, or they can come as a group of friends, come in and walk their schedule from 1st period all the way to 9th period. We do have an orientation set up for the first day of school. It's a regular day of school, but then at the end of the day, we will have an opportunity to talk to the kids to see how their first day went. Mr. Santoro goes into all the classes in the first few days to introduce himself and introduce what he needs or what he does with the kids. Those of you who have students who have IEPs, Those CSE meetings have already begun, and you will have the opportunity to meet some of the staff members that will be working with your students. And PTA puts together a pre-ordered school supplies, so you can order all the supplies that you need for the kids all in one space, and they do that sometime in June. All right, I'm going to do one more slide and then I'll stop for questions and answers. Okay. Well, we'll go to Mr. Santoro now with the role of the school counselor.
Hi, guys. So yeah, so as Mr. DiPaolo said, I meet with all the students in September to kind of give them an overview of what I do. And I know Ms. Cohn in elementary school, being that that's a new position, it's great that we're able to establish a school counselor in the elementary school and have them understand and know what we do, especially coming into middle school, because I feel like these are the years where they need the most guidance. 7th and 8th grades, even 6th grade, very difficult years, transition years, emotional years, social things through the roof, as I'm sure many of you parents know and understand by now. Things change and it gets very challenging. So often I'm the advocate for your child. If things are going astray in school, if things are going wrong at home, often I will be in touch with you. We'll talk, we'll figure out things and how to help them, whether it's academic issues that are going on, social issues, emotional issues. Quite often these next 2 years can be very challenging. So I like to consider myself the bridge between the school and the home. You know, I try to keep the relationships and conversations as open as I can with you, the parents, and obviously with the students and with the staff. So if there's anything that you guys need, I'm always available, whether it's through phone call, whether it's through email. Sometimes this year it's been very challenging with the pandemic. It's been, you know, a much different year. Like even take this, for example, I'd much rather be doing this in person right now, but I'm at my house on a computer looking at a screen, and God knows how many people out there. But my role, other than, you know, the advocate for your child, the bridging the gap, I do a lot of what's called the scheduling. So right now you probably received a letter from me within the last couple of weeks regarding academic advising, academic schedules, honors, accelerated classes are something that you don't have to worry about right now. The staff at Rushmore is making those recommendations to me. And based on those recommendations, I will enter that into their schedules. What you got from me in the mail would be more like the language, whether they wanted to take Italian or Spanish, and then the music requirements as to what they wanted to do for next year. So that process has already begun for September. Throughout the next couple months, I would be putting those schedules together, getting it all ready, and then it'll be sent home to you guys sometime in August. Character education is definitely a big piece of what the counseling department does. And, you know, putting things together, whether it's me going into a classroom, discussing certain, you know, activities and things that help build character, using outside agencies and different people to come in to work with kids. I actually have a presenter coming in soon. I'm not sure if any of you know him or familiar with him, but it's Ronan Murphy. He's probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met. He was diagnosed with a problem with his legs at an early age, and he had to have both legs amputated. And he's gone on to do amazing, amazing things with no legs. And it's quite inspirational to see what he's gone through and how he's persevered. So we like to bring in different people to work with the students and to kind of help them grow and work through some of the things that they may be dealing with in their lives. So all positive, you know, stuff. And then we are currently in the works of putting together a new advisory program. So it's going to be a district-wide SEL, social emotional learning program that's going to start in the elementary schools, work its way through middle school, and then also get into high school. And that will be, it's not fully in place yet, but it should be in place come September when your child starts middle school. We should have a fully functional advisory program that's going to run possibly once to twice a week. I think we're going to look at once per week, where we will have an advisor working with your son or daughter to discuss also character education, amongst other things. Personal and group counseling. So these are, you know, sporadic and in between. I do different things depending on needs of students. A lot of this is done with our psychologist department as well too. We have 2 psychologists in the school. One is Dr. Greco and one Ms. Waskowitz, who will also possibly be working with your son or daughter as well, if the need arises. Dealing with social issues. Middle school, we know we're going to deal with social issues. I deal with it. This is my 13th year doing this, my 9th year or 8th year at Call Place. And it's, it's a challenge. It's a challenge every year. And the more that we are on the same page as you and you are on the same page as us, the better we'll be able to work with your son or daughter and make sure that their years in middle school are successful. It's a challenge though. Technology has proven to really, I'm sure many of you are aware that I have very young children at home too. It's not easy to deal with technology and how fast these things are going and how much these kids are learning at a very young age. So we will work together with that. I'm here to support you. We can work to try to counter it as much as we can. I do have some presenters that I've spoken to in the past that know ways of blocking things. I'm sure many of you are very savvy with technology and are able to do that yourselves, but that's something that we will discuss and talk about over the next 2 years as well. Working with middle school faculty and staff. Yeah, so I'm as I am the bridge for you, I'm also the bridge for the staff. So we often have team meetings where we discuss, your child or what's going on. And I communicate with them, they communicate with me, they communicate with you, and we all try to communicate together so that we're all on the same page and making those connections for your son and daughter so that they're successful. Communicate with parents regularly, progress reports and report cards. So it's a little bit different this year, whereas the grade book is open. So we did not send home progress reports this year. This was the first time we've ever not sent them home. So you always get letters from me depending on how your son or daughter has done. I don't like to send my letters out because a lot of times when they're sent out, it's for students that may not be doing so well. But progress reports will more or less be on not really available. You will have access to your son and daughter's grade book for each class every day. So you don't have to, the progress reports are normally every 5 weeks. This is a way for you to keep track of what's going on, whether it's classwork, test quizzes, attendance, and things like that. You have access to all that information on there. Report cards will still be obviously placed on Parent Portal. So every 10 weeks, you'll get a quarterly report card that will show the average for that market period. Back to school night in September, very important for you to come in. Hopefully it's live. I don't know where we're going to be at that point, but I'm hoping that it's live and you will be able to get an understanding of what your son and daughter is doing inside of the classrooms that they're taking.
Mr. Santoro, I have my crystal ball and I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feeling pretty good.
Okay.
Not really sure what he's feeling good about, but that's not good.
I'm feeling good that we're gonna be open.
Oh.
normal.
I kind of lost you there for a second too.
Love it.
I thought I was making the connection, but I guess I didn't. Then that sounds really weird.
You're giving us hope, Mr. D. It's
Okay,
all
good.
about hope.
Go ahead.
So yeah, so I was I don't know what I was thinking right there. But, all right, and then also one of the most important things is parent teacher night in November. It's we can always set up. So this is why I hope that we're live. I hope that we're back in fully because what I've normally done in the past is if we need to have team meetings set up with teachers, parents, we can set up those meetings where you could come in, sit with your team of teachers, talk to them. If you wanted to talk to them about your son and daughter, if you want to just get information, those are things that we can do. If we cannot do it live next year, we could still do it remotely, just like we're doing now through Zoom, which is fine. I'm a big fan of being personal and being obviously live, but it is what it is, and we'll do what we can do. But parent-teacher conference is very important that you attend. This is the time you get to spend with your the teacher of your child in each subject, kind of walk their schedule and kind of see the school and get to find out how they're doing for the first marking period. Online registration is through the website, Canyon Creek. I know that's a big thing. So a lot of parents will call me and ask me how to sign up or make sure you sign up as soon as I believe Mr. DiPaolo sends out an email to every family. As soon as you get that email, try to sign up as soon as possible because the time slots go quickly. Team meetings, I discussed it briefly before. So team meetings, I meet we tend to meet once to twice, possibly even 3 times a week, depending on the schedule, depending on how everything starts up in September. That's where I get to meet with the teachers, talk to them about students, and kind of figure out where I need to maybe contact parents or meet with students, depending on how they're doing in class. Advisory I spoke about a little bit before as well too. I'm not going to get too far into that right now, but as I said, we are developing a district-wide social emotional learning program right now that is going to tie into the advisory program nicely, and it'll be a great addition for your son and daughter. High school planning and career day. So yeah, so right now, as I'm scheduling your child right for 7th grade, I'm also scheduling the 8th graders to move forward into high school. So a lot of those recommendations I gather from the teachers, we set up schedules and kind of get them moving on to high school. Whether it's, the understanding of Regents exams, because they will be taking Regents exams in 8th grade, living environment, everybody will take living environment, honors, accelerated math, they will be taking a Regents as well, and then possibly students that are taking a foreign language, if they are taking a foreign language, in 8th grade will take 1B, and once they receive that credit, that will also be a credit towards high school graduation. So potentially most students will leave middle school with 2 high school credits towards graduation, which is, you need a minimum of 22 credits to graduate. But some will leave with 3, depending on their program.
Mrs. Santoro, with the team meetings, do you have parents come into those sometimes?
Yes, so it's a great opportunity for parents to come in and talk to the teachers.
All of the teachers all at once?
Yeah, so really it's mostly just the academic teachers, so the core academic class. Sometimes it depends on the schedule and how everybody's schedule is. Sometimes some teachers can't make it, but if they can't make it, they give me a report, and then I filter that report to the parents.
Thank you, Mrs. Santoro. Let's take a break here before we continue with Mrs. Santoro with the schedule. But does anybody have any questions on the stuff the material that we covered so far, knowing that there's a lot more slides to go? Any questions? Just yell it out. Yeah.
With this whole scheduling, I know it's still a bit unknown if it's safe to come back to the school because of this pandemic, vaccination. Is that like what's the plan around that? Like, are you going to offer remote scheduling, or is it still on campus?
Right. So the question was, we know how we educated our kids this year. Either the kids were in or they were home and remote. What's going to look like in September? So we are planning for both contingencies. We're planning for all in for the students, but we are also planning for a remote option as well, just in case that's what the Department of Health and the State Education Department have determined that we need to do. We're more and more hopeful as the vaccine is being used by more and more people. I just heard that 12-year-olds will soon be able to get vaccinated. So we don't have the answer to that yet, but we will be ready for both and be more ready this year than we were for this year. Well, I'm sorry, more ready next year than we were this year, because it was almost on a day-to-day basis in August as to what rules and regulations were coming out. Any other general questions so far? Okay. Back to the screen. And Mr. Santoro.
Okay. So as Mr. DePaula stated earlier, we run on an A day, B day cycle, but this is going to be kind of a general overview of what a schedule will look like. This is not indicative of what is going to be next year, right? So this is just kind of giving you an idea of how it could potentially be, and the periods and the times and things like that. But don't hold this schedule as this is the way your child is going to be next year, because we haven't even completed the master schedule, and a lot of this could possibly change. Some of it will always stay the same, and I'll discuss that in a moment, but for the most part, this could change. It's just kind of giving you an idea of what a middle school schedule could potentially look like. So 0 period is a optional type of class. It's 7:20 a.m. to 7:57 a.m. The two classes that are there, one is middle school jazz band, which as I said, is an optional class. The other one, not so optional. The other one is an academic intervention service class. And typically there is a math support class there as well. And those two classes are by recommendation. So your son or daughter was struggling in, let's say, English, and the teacher felt that they could benefit from an AIS course. Same thing with math. They may be recommended into that course next year. There are 2 periods that might be available. So one would be 0 period, and that would be the best option, because if they don't take it, if they're recommended for the class and they don't take it 0 period, then they will have to take it during a foreign language period where they would have to defer their language for a year or possibly 2, depending on if they were recommended for it in 8th grade as well. So then we move into the regular school day, which starts at 8 a.m. So you'd have your first academic period, second period, another academic period, including homeroom announcements. So it's a little bit longer there. Third period is rotations. A rotation class is like the middle school elective. So we don't really get a lot of flexibility like the high school students where they can pick and choose electives. We have basically 4 electives. They take 1 each marking period. So it's a 10-week course. They finish the course, they get their grade, they move on to the next one. They will funnel with the same students. So they are teamed based on that team, and each group of students goes to each class together. So the first one is Introduction to Technology. Then we have a basic engineering course, computer skills, and then family consumer science, which is a cooking class. It's like home ec. 4th period, another academic. 5th period is lunch. 6th period is band, orchestra, and chorus and art. 7th and 8th are also academics. And then 9th would be health and phys ed. I will tell you this model right here, we don't even run this model this year. This schedule that we have this year is completely different from this. So the one next year will most likely be different from this as well. As I said, this is just to kind of give you an idea of what the schedule could potentially look like. The periods, the classes may be in a different order when you get the schedule in September. This is a Monday, Friday. So we run on, we have 2 different schedules based on extra help. So a Monday, Friday schedule is really, there is no after school extra help. So the 9th period, as you can see at the bottom, runs until 2:57 p.m. At that point, your child is done with school. They can choose to go to their sport, their club, or to go home at that point. So on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we run what's called an extra help schedule. So on that extra help schedule, we take a little bit from each period to give us time at the end of the day for students to attend extra help. This to me is a valuable piece to middle school, because most students, if you take advantage of this time, could really benefit from time with their teacher, even, making sure that they know how to do their homework, doing their homework, or getting information that they might have missed in a class, or making up work if they were absent one day and they need to make something up. All of these things are a great place. Extra help is a great place to get this stuff done. I've even had students make up tests or quizzes or finish a test or a quiz during extra help. So it's valuable time for them if your son and daughter takes advantage of it. So that's where a lot of times I will create mandatory extra help schedules where they have to attend, or we will just try to follow them around and yell at them until they go into a classroom. But that doesn't always work either, because they run away from me. But
then I catch them.
Yeah.
And during that extra help time, every teacher in the building is available and waiting for kids to come to get extra help. Mr. Santoro, can you explain what their options are for lunch? Like what happens during that lunchtime?
So are we running extra help during lunch next year?
Yeah.
Okay, so good. So I'm actually happy to hear that, because this year, unfortunately, we weren't able to run extra help during lunch, but as Mr. Tapala stated, it will be back in effect next year. So during their lunch period, we know it's a downtime period. We know it's a relaxation period for them, but it is also going to go back to being an available extra help for them as well, where I believe Mr. Tapala said there was 7 extra helps in a week. 3 of them are after school. 4 of them are going to be during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays during their lunch period, where every single teacher, every single academic teacher will be available in their room to give them any sort of extra help that they may need. I've always found that the lunchtime extra help to me is a little bit better or a little bit less crowded than the after school extra help. So if they can manage to eat, hang out with their friends, or go to extra help first, meet with the teacher, and then go, eat and hang out with their friends. And that would be, a good way to take advantage of some time to get some things done as well, or to make up assignments, or get some help with assignments that they don't understand.
They only eat lunch with other seventh graders. After they eat lunch, they can hang out in the cafeteria. They can go to the library. We have outdoor recess, when the weather is good, or they can go to any of their academic teachers for extra help.
Yeah.
So that's the schedule. And as Mr. Santoro said, very little options for him. So one of the academic classes would be I think we're being invaded. One of the academic classes is world language. So that's either Spanish or Italian. The other academics are English, social studies, science, and math. So those are the 5 academic areas that your children will be in. All right, so that's from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mr. Santoro, let's talk about after school.
Sure. So we have a lot of activities. One of the most important things, guys, and I'm sure many of you are aware of this. I saw a lot of last names and that I recognize, and I'm sure you've had son or daughters come through. But it's always important that you recognize and understand and know that these programs and services are also available to your son or daughter. And for all your new parents as well to middle school. There are a lot of clubs, a lot of activities, a lot of sports that we offer that are maybe not offered in elementary school that, can really help them to get involved, really help them to develop friendships, long-lasting friendships and bonds with other students and teachers throughout the building. So some academic, well, first let's start with the activity night. So we run dances, and we run something that's called the Middle School Olympics. Middle School Olympics is every 2 years, where it's a bunch of competitive games that we play a lot of times in the gym. It's set up, and it's a night of fun and activities for the kids to do. And then there's I think 2 or 3 dances per year. Unfortunately, we were not able to have them this year, but I'm hopeful that next year we'll be able to bring them back, and we'll be able to have some night functions in the school as well. Some clubs, so academic clubs, there's a chess club, which is basically a game club. There's all different games that they play. There's an environmental action club, a Lego robotics, which is really amazing. I think Mr. Tanner's still running that, Mr. D, if I'm correct. It's been a wonderful club in the middle school where they go and compete against other schools with things that they've developed and built through the years. Middle school yearbook, middle school newspaper, which is called The Path. And then there are some services that they can get involved in: middle school student government, diversity club, and SAD, Honor Society, National Junior Honor Society. So with National Junior Honor Society, students need to maintain a certain grade point average, which I believe is 90 and above for all of 7th grade. And then the first 2 marking periods of their 8th grade year. And then at that point, they will be invited into the National Junior Honor Society, but they still need to qualify to get in. So it's not just about grades, it's about character, it's about involvement, it's about the things that you do. And that's why this screen is important, because you want to be involved, you want to have good character, you want to do a lot of good things within the school that go along with that 90+ average that you're doing in the classroom. Arts and music, right? So we have middle school jazz band, as I described earlier, that is in the morning. Mr. D, is the middle school drumline running next year?
No, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. That shouldn't be there.
Okay, so middle school drumline is no longer there, but middle school jazz band will be there. We run a ton of plays. Mr. Lamone is the performing arts director, and he runs different plays throughout the year. And there's also a student-run play that I believe goes in September. I think that they run it in September, which is, you would think that it was a play that was developed and done on Broadway, because these kids are absolutely amazing. If you get the opportunity, go see it, go check it out. Even if your son and daughter is not in it, it's pretty amazing to see what these students do all on their own. There's no involvement from adults or anything. Student run musical, you can see it right there. Yep. And then the recreational outdoor club, and then of course athletics. So we have 4 seasons with athletics. I can tell you what they are if you wish to know. So we have different athletics. Obviously, fall sports is cross country, field hockey, football, soccer, and girls tennis. Winter 1 is basketball for the boys, volleyball for the girls. Winter 2 is basketball for the girls and wrestling. And spring sports is baseball, lacrosse, softball, tennis boys, and track. So we offer a lot of different sports and activities for your son and daughter to get involved in. I highly recommend as a school counselor that they get involved in as much as they can, because they're in middle school and they needs to get their energy out. They need to not just be worried about their schoolwork all day and all night. They need to do other things. What I will tell you, and my good friend, Mr. Katz, if he was here, would tell you, is don't let them overload in middle school. So they need to find balance, right? They need to, obviously do the academic, do some sports, be involved, but don't be involved too much to the point where they're overwhelmed and they start to, fall apart or get stressed out, or just are not doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're trying to do too much. So, and middle school could do that, unfortunately. So you have to find that balance, and they have to find that balance. And that's where you come in as parents, and as a school, we will monitor that as well and see what we can do. And if anything that I see and I come across, I'll probably give you a call and just say, hey, listen, we need to, talk to your son and daughter about making some adjustments to their schedule. But
Thank you, Mr. Santoro. Let's take a little break here. Any questions about academics, about after-school activities, any of those things?
Mr. DiPaolo, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
I didn't sign Alexa up for a language because I just thought it might be too much her first year going in, with academically. Does she have to take a language the first year?
So it's either language or AIS. So
Okay.
and those two languages are Spanish and Italian. So a conversation with you, Ms. Cohn, and Mr. Santoro will help you out in that area.
Perfect.
The first year of 7th grade is Spanish 1A and Italian 1A. And then in 8th grade, it's Italian 1B and Spanish 1B. Those two together count as one high school credit for language. So the students then would be leaving with one language credit, and that is the minimum needed to graduate from high school. We recommend 3 years of language. So
Right.
that's Italian or Spanish 2 and a Spanish or Italian 3. And then the kids can move on to 4 honors and then the AP. But they do need 1 year of language. If for whatever reason students don't take a language in 7th and 8th grade, then in 9th grade they start, but there's only Spanish available for them. We don't have an Italian starting course in 9th grade.
Okay. So I guess if I have a conversation, I'll know better
Yep.
what's recommended. Okay.
I could also tell you too, that if your son or daughter doesn't take a language in 7th grade, but then you decide to go into, they no longer need the ASD or math support. And in 8th grade, they decide to go into a language though, and this is what you and I can discuss as well too. They will be an 8th grader in a 7th grade course. So that's definitely something you want to consider before, we make those decisions. But you and I can definitely talk about this further.
Okay. So I can reach out to you after.
Yeah. Yep,
Okay,
anytime.
great.
Any
Thank
other
you.
academic questions or questions about after school?
With
With finals being optional this year, when did that go into effect, and will that be the case next year? So the finals being optional came about around 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when the state education department decided not to mandate Regents exams in all but 4 classes. Next year, we're planning that that's not going to be the case, and that the students' grades will be determined by the 4 marking periods and also the final exam or the project at the end of the year. 7th graders do not take Regents exams, 8th graders do. Is there another question?
Good evening, Mr. DiPaolo. With sports, is there any tryouts or cuts for any of the sports, or how does that work?
Yeah, just for me, I was And I'm still not over that. No, it's everybody wants to play kind of thing. So all for 7th and 8th grade. So for basketball, which is very, very popular, then they break it up into 5 quarters or 5 8-minute, and every kid plays. And every other middle school does it that same way too. So everybody gets to play, but your kid will only be playing for 8 minutes. So there's the trade-off for that. But middle school, it's about exposure, exposure to different classes and sports. That's why we have 4 different seasons. When they get to high school, they only have 3. But there's no cut policy. Now, because of our size, when you get to high school, if you want to be on the golf team, you're on the varsity golf team. That's it. If you want to be on the tennis team, you're probably going to be on the varsity tennis team as a 9th grader.
I've actually had 8th graders on the varsity golf team, Mr. DePaulo.
Yeah.
7th graders, I think, too, if they were really good, much better than I am.
Yeah. That's, if I played golf, that would be the best thing to do, be the golf coach, you know.
Yes.
But so that's where we are with sports.
To go off that 8th grade in golf, do any of the 8th graders have the what's the rule on 8th grade playing up?
Yes, they can. 7th graders not, except for gymnastics and I believe wrestling. 8th graders can play up to JV or even varsity. There is a requirement, a physical that they have to pass. It's a delicate issue because an 8th grader may physically be able to compete in the JV and varsity level, but they may not socially be ready to be with the high school kids, especially in their non-supervised off time when I'm not watching them, but you guys are watching them time, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Bowling is not a middle school sport. It's only a high school sport. I saw that question.
Mr. DePaulo, I have a question also.
Sure.
I know that we join sports with Wheatley for some of our sports. Now, when it comes to the no cut policy and the play, do they go based off of the same schedules and rules that we do? Or if it's a Wheatley based sport, it goes off of Wheatley based rules?
No, so the middle school, almost all of Nassau County, they call it the modified sports, not middle school sports. It's that same philosophy. The sports that we do join with Wheatley currently are football and boys lacrosse. So those are the 2 sports that we join together with. Late breaking news, we now have a swimming team. We have 1 swimmer who connects in with Locust Valley. She happens to be an awesome swimmer. She's ranked in the top few in the backstroke in New York State. And so we also have a swim team now. So yeah, but Wheatley does that same thing for football and for boys lacrosse. We had connected with them for with wrestling, but that has separated now. And I'm sorry, there's one more sport, gymnastics. We're together. They sent 1 girl over for gymnastics, and we helped her out. Did that help? I hope so.
It did, thank you. It did, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, back to the presentation. The rest goes pretty fast.
You saying I was taking too much time, Mr. D?
No. What I'm saying is that you get your own special slide, Mr. Santoro. Share screen, here we go. Okay, now we're going to talk about student discipline. We follow the code of conduct and the student handbook. The assistant principals and myself are all involved in that part of the job. Discipline is not a dirty word. It's a time for us to educate children. Your sweet little 6th grade, perfect little kids will turn into monsters soon enough, 7th and 8th grade. And their role is to test the boundaries. That's what teenagers do. And Mr. Barata, myself, and the other assistant principal, what we teach them is how to stay within those guidelines. The most common infractions are lateness, either lateness to school or lateness to class. Student-to-student social challenges. That's why Mr. Santoro has no hair. It is, there's 6 people on a group text, and then one of them doesn't like the other one, so they remove them from the group text. Now there's 5, and number 6 then becomes upset because now the other 5 are talking about them. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Is there any head nodding there? That is the biggest challenge that we have with that. This year, there was also some inappropriate texting going on, but that is not as much of a problem. But, there's also some minor behavior problems. Just today, one 7th grader needed to be sent to my office because he decided that kicking was an important way to show that he likes somebody, which really is not. And then there's the academic related discipline. For example, if the students aren't passing courses, then they're not allowed to do extracurriculars or go on field trips or do sports. So there are some academic related discipline areas as well. Now for the ever popular DiPaolo top 10 list. I know people pay good money. People are here who don't even have 6th graders just to see this DiPaolo top 10 list. Number 10, they have enough friends, folks. You don't have to be their friend. The kiss of death is when I hear, I'm best friends with their, they have enough. They need you to be a parent. You have to learn to say the word no and be okay with it. Look at the people who are around you on this Zoom, because here's the challenge. There's going to be 5 of you that are going to say yes to whatever idea they come up with, when the real answer should be no. So let's bond together and remember this conversation. They have enough friends. Sign up early for Canyon Creek or else you will be up a creek. 7th and 8th grade get packed. We actually added an extra hour just for the 7th and 8th grade so that you can have a time. But I'm telling you, there's people who stay up until 12:01 and get on. So
what is Canyon Creek? What is that?
Canyon Creek is the computer software that we use to register, that you would use to register for your parent-teacher conferences online about a week before the conferences. I don't know how long conferences are at Rushmore, but at the middle school, high school, they are 4 minutes. That's how much time you get, 4 minutes. And the 7th grade team, the 7th grade English teachers, English teacher, social studies teacher, math teacher, and science teacher, every spot will be filled. So you want to get there early. Number 8, parent-teacher conferences, back-to-school nights, concerts, award nights, induction ceremonies are not optional for you. If I am there, you are there. I did not give birth to them. You did. But you need to be there. And I know if you check the parent portal or not, Big Brother is watching. So make sure you know what the kids are. And the kids are going to look around and see where are my folks at these very, very important things. Principals Roundtable is where it's at. So we have 4 principal roundtables. It's actually not a round table, so I don't know why I call it a round table, but it's a chance for parents to come and ask any questions, have an opportunity to hang out with Mr. D. We've done it virtually this year, but they're also on the school calendar. A very important slide. Call the teacher first, then the director, then me, in that order. Doing the reverse just gets the other 2 people upset. Notice that the superintendent is not on this list. She doesn't need to know that your 7th grade kid failed the math quiz and whatever. It's just not her role. That's not her responsibility. So if you're having a challenge with any of the teachers, with anything that's happening, call them first. Because if you call me first, I will be very polite I will take down all the information and then I will tell you, go call the teacher. So very important. Number 5A, their cell phones should not be in their bedrooms at night. My daughter, when she was in 7th grade, and now she's graduating college on Sunday, she developed this cute habit of sleeping with her hand underneath the pillow. Oh, I thought that was so cute. No, she was holding on to her phone, and anytime anything happened, it would buzz. You do not need to text them during the day. There is no reason for you to text them and ask them how they're doing, or, what do you want for dinner tonight? No, they're mine. They're mine from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So you don't need to text them. If there's an emergency, you call Mr. Santoro. He's much more athletic than I. We can get there faster than you can. So there's no reason why you need to text them. Speaking of Mr. Santoro, I gave him his own slide. Wow. Mr. Santoro, Mrs. Santoro, Mrs. Santoro, he is the man. He's going to be the person that when your child turns into this thing that you don't recognize anymore, he's going to be able to talk you off the ledge. We've seen it all, but then Mrs. Santoro and I, this year we've seen some other things this year. Wow, this is new, but we're here to help you, and he's going to be your first contact. And I'm going to be serious here. If things are going on in your home, especially with loved ones, let's say, unfortunately, grandma or grandpa, is sick, or the dog dies, or you and your whatever situation is going through, whatever, give Mr. Santoro a call so that he can tell the teachers, hey, let's look out for her or him, making sure. He's not going to go into specifics. He's not going to gossip around, but let us know. Facebook plus dirty laundry equals an unhappy principal. I wish that I could post the things that I want from you guys. So you know what I find? Come on, Carle Place is very small. You guys know that. If you burp first period, I hear about it second period. So if you having a challenge with me, my leadership, what I do and how I do it, call me and let's talk about it. Most of my best relationships with parents started off with 7th grade with them cursing at me. Mr. Santoro knows that that's true. And now we're tight. But you know what? If you do it out in public, it's not the right way to do. I wish I could call your parents up to tell them how great of a parent you are, but I don't do that. The children of the person next to you tonight in this Zoom will lie, drink, smoke, cheat, fight, cut classes, sneak out of your house, lose their cell phones, and turn into a situation. Now, not your child, but the people around you. Guys, middle school is a really, really difficult time for kids and for parents as well. Mr. de Blasio and I have gone through it 3 times. Mr. Santoro will be joining the club soon. It is a very, very awkward time. I can think of no better place than Carle Place Middle School to take care of your kids, not only because of the size that we leverage that size to the best of our ability, but because of the people that we hired. Mr. Santoro, Mr. de Blasio, and Ms. Cohn being 3 examples of that, that really care for your kids. So last one, Control-Alt-Delete solves most problems. It's not brain surgery, guys. It's not like, it's not like things are reversible and we'll get through it together. How many times have I said that? We'll get through this together. We will, because we care about your kids. Mr. Santoro, I think this is your slide.
Yeah. So, just to kind of piggyback a little bit on that too, like we understand that this is tough and we understand that this is going to be a challenge. And we've been doing it long enough to understand that it's every year it's the same, just different kids, different names. But there's a lot of the similar problems that come up. And I hear a lot of, and I'm similar in the fact that I want my own children to start to become independent and start to do these things on their own and start to, kind of like step aside and let them do their thing. But I will tell you, middle school is not that time yet to just kind of like say, okay, I'm done. You guys now go and find your way. They need you. They need you more than ever in middle school, and they need us as adults more than ever to show them the way, teach them the way, and make sure that they're on that right path, because they could stray. And they will do a lot of the things that Mr. DiPaolo said, and they will, not everybody, but they will do, and they will follow, and they will listen to their friends. This is that time when, mom and dad are not the most important thing anymore. Now they're starting to kind of switch over to their friendships and the relationships that they develop. They're going to start to ask them for advice rather than coming to you. So you might see that transition, you might see it now in 6th grade, but you'll certainly see it within the next couple of years. And some of you may not see it, and it's just you're lucky. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, but it's definitely a challenging time, but we will work together. I promise you, we're all here. But yeah, you definitely need to be on the same page as us, and we need to be on the same page as you, and together we will make it, a good thing. This slide, just, making sure you reassure them, like it's a tough transition. It's a scary transition. We're in the middle of a pandemic still. I know there's a lot of social emotional things happening. Over the next couple months, as we get into the summer and we start to progress towards September, just reassure them that everything's going to be okay. They have support here, even though they don't know anybody. They have me, they have Mr. DiPaolo. We're there, we're available. Every teacher will be out in the hallway available for them. If they're lost, if they're scared, if they don't know what to do, we are not, going to yell at them or scream at them or tell them their attention or, whatever else. We're going to help them. Obviously, same thing, talk to them, make sure you're a part of this process, because, we need you. The teachers definitely need you. And just be a part of this whole middle school time. These next 2 years are very critical. Be involved, be there, be a shoulder to lean on, or, as I said, they may not come to you as much as you're used to, but still be that rock for them, because they will need you. Listen for understated feelings. So yeah, so a lot of times kids are not going to tell you straight out that they're feeling a certain way. You might have to pick up on certain things. You might have to see things. They might be left out of a crowd. There may be, some things that you're noticing. They're not going out as much with their friends. They're not doing their favorite hobbies, playing their favorite sports. These are signs that something might be up. They may be changing. They may be going through different changes, but there also may be things happening that you just want to keep an eye on. And you could always call me. What's that, Mr. D?
Here's the big 3: sleeping changes, eating changes, and irritability changes. They're all irritable. But if you notice that one of those 3 things is happening, your antenna should go up. If they're having trouble sleeping, or they're staying up all night, or whatever, if they're either overeating or undereating, that's it. That's a cue. And then being more irritable than normal. Those are the 3 things that I look for. Set aside time. I'm going to pick up Mrs. Santoro, to do their homework. Set aside time to do homework together if you can. If your work schedule allows that, allow them the time to a quiet spot. We'll give them planners at the beginning of the year where they can write down their homework, check their planners. Remember that it's normal for them to share everything with you. And that goes back to being best friends with them. We do have grade level team meetings. So if you ever needed to see all of your teachers all at the same time, and then our phone number and our email address is there for you at all times. So that's the end of the first part of the presentation. And then the next part is about the high school. And at that time, if you've already gone through the high school, or you just want to chill, or you can certainly log off. But I'm going to continue with the high school after I answer any questions that you guys have about the middle school.
Can I ask you a question? Are you guys going to be conducting anything on Google Classroom? Is they going to still do stuff on Google Classroom?
Yeah, so one of the silver linings of this pandemic is now every child has a Chromebook, and every teacher has a laptop that was given by the kids. So yes, we are planning on continuing to use Google Classroom as a platform. It's very powerful, and it's been a great tool. There's also some other things that teachers have learned, other computer things, podcasts and all that. I can't think of the name I'm looking for, but that we will continue to use. Whether we're going to be have a remote option, we haven't figured that out yet. Mr. Master Moro, how did I do today?
In all seriousness, like, I mean, I've said this to my wife before, I just can't commend the whole Carl Place school system enough for everything you've done during the pandemic. When you look at like the New York City system and whatnot, I mean, I think you guys have done a phenomenal job. Communication, your dedication. I have a son and a daughter both in the school system, and I've been so impressed, and I'm just very grateful to be in this town, in this district. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll be sending you the $20 check in the mail. And then you're going to send me your anti-aging formula. Yeah, and you know what? We were just recognized yesterday by a national teacher organization for being one of the schools that were totally open, and it's because of Mr. Santoro, Ms. Cohen, Mr. de Blasio, and our staff that were able to again leverage our size. I think we were one of 5 in Nassau County to be all in. And there's 53 school districts in Nassau County. Right now, there's seniors that still haven't been in their building. Glen Cove, about 80% of the kids are remote. It's just nuts. So thank you, Mr. Master Morrow, for that.
Is there any update on the, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Any update or news of Mr. Katz's replacement?
Yeah, so actually I was just speaking to Dr. Finn actually today, that we are going to start planning for that. And we are hopeful that that will happen by July 1st. Mr. Katz, for those of you who don't know, was the middle school assistant principal. He retired at the end of December 31st. Anybody else? I think we did a great job there because there's no questions. All right, so what I'm going to do now, and I won't feel offended if you leave me now. Isn't that a song from the 70s? If you leave me now, now, Master Morrow, you're not going to know that song because what are you, 12? No way you know that song. If you leave me now, you're taking the best part of me. My wife would kill me right now if she knew I was singing to you. But I'm going to.
His anti-aging cream isn't going to work on you anymore either.
No, huh? No, it's not that good. So I'm going to